What's up, everybody? This is the Digital World Podcast, and we're going to look over an article from the BIS on central bank digital currencies, and I think you're going to like what you're going to see. So let's get right into it. I want to show this video of Jeff Bezos comparing the gold rush to the internet, and I think you could compare this new cryptocurrency sort of scenario that's happening to these previous eras. Now, watch this video. I think it's going to be really cool.
Comparatively speaking, to be resilient. I think it's also, if we look at what happened in the internet, it was such an incredible last, half a dozen years that it's hard to even get the right analogy for it. And a lot of how we decide how we're supposed to react to things and what we're supposed to expect about the future depends on how we bucket things and how we categorize them. I think the tempting analogy for the boom bust that we just went through with the internet is a gold rush. Both were very real. They took, in 1849, in that gold rush, they took over $700 million worth of gold out of California. It was very real. The internet was also very real. This is a real way for humans to communicate with each other. It's a big deal. Huge boom, huge boom. Huge bust, huge bust. I don't have to remind you of all the hype that was involved in the internet, getrich.com, but you had the same thing with the gold rush. Gold, gold, gold. 68 rich men on the steamer Portland, stacks of yellow metal. And people would get very excited about this when they read these articles. Resilience, if you think of it in terms of the gold rush, then you'd be pretty depressed right now because the last nugget of gold would be gone. But the good thing is with innovation, there isn't last nugget. Every new thing creates two new questions and two new opportunities. And if you believe that, then you believe that where we are, this is what I think, I believe that where we are with the incredible kludge, and I haven't even talked about user interfaces on the web, but there's so much kludge, so much terrible stuff. We are at the 1908 Hurley washing machine stage with the internet. That's where we are. But that's the level of primitiveness of where we are. We're 1908. And if you believe that, then stuff like this doesn't bother you. This is 1996. All the negatives add up to making the online experience not worth the trouble. 1998, Amazon.toast. In 1999, Amazon.bomb. But, if you really do believe that it's the very, very beginning, if you believe it's the 1908 Hurley washing machine, then you're incredibly optimistic. And I do think that that's where we are. And I do think there's more innovation ahead of us than there is behind us. And I think that's where we are. We're very, very early. Thank you very much. Comparatively speaking.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more. We're definitely early. And if you're part of this space, you're early. You're one of the first people. Sorry, that was my dog. Okay, so let's keep on moving on here. And thank you to Digital Assets Daily for posting this article on the BIS saying the multi-central bank digital currency payments and the future of cross-border payments. So let's go into it. And here, if you see this graph or these two graphs that they've posted, sorry, 1 second. Okay, sorry about that. Now, we see that the cross-border payments efficiency is a motivation for the CBDC issuance. Here they show the globalization of economic retail activity, right? They show the graph. And here they show the cross-border payments as a motive for issuance. Here we see retail CBDC, and here we see wholesale CBDC. Now, here this is a study of cross-border payments efficiency as a motive for CBDC issuance in a survey of 66 central banks. And it ranges from 1 to 4, 1 being not as important and 4 being very important. Okay, and the dots indicate the average. So here we see that here the range is basically from like 2.5-ish up to 3. That's kind of the average is what it seems like. So they're kind of, pushing towards that 4, which means very important. So we see that, central bank digital currencies they have a narrative in terms of being pushed for, and here it's indicated by these 66 central banks. Now, I wanted to move on because I thought this part of the paper was very interesting. Here we see the frictions in current correspondent banking arrangements, right? And it's the current financial system. And we see here there's a high cost to sustain relations with multiple intermediaries. there's a high cost of compliance across borders, and there's limited transparency on the status of payment, you see. And then you have different opening hours, you have varying communication standards, and unclear incoming fees. Now here, they're talking about what can help fix this, and they say interoperability between payment systems can help reduce frictions. It is a broad term, potentially incorporating any characteristics of systems that could help them exchange information. Today, payment systems achieve cross-border and cross-currency interoperability in 3 different ways. Okay, so you have compatible standards, right? So that goes to similar regulatory frameworks, market practices, messaging formats, and data requirements, right? And then 2, there's interlinking systems via technical interfaces, common clearing mechanisms, or related schemes. And 3, by establishing a single multi-currency payment system. A single multi-currency payment system. Do you mean like a bridge that allows for you to connect to all these different currencies and help reduce friction in the current banking system? I don't know. That's a good one. I don't know if we've ever heard of that, have we? So that reminded me of, a video. And if you haven't seen this episode I posted, episode 6 of the interview with Chris Larson, and he gives his vision of what he thinks digital assets will be, kind of like that middleman. And if you haven't seen it, go ahead and check it out. But it kind of reminded me of what he said. He sees, XRP being backed by, or being like a Swiss franc or the US dollar. And yeah, if you haven't seen it, check it out. But this is very interesting that the BIS is putting this out. And I'm telling you, there are no coincidences. And we're seeing a lot of what we know about XRP and what the Ripple, the company, have been saying about their native token XRP and how it can be used to facilitate cross-border payments. Now, on to this by Michael Val 5 Links. Thanks for posting this. He said, Federal Reserve's pal says CBDCs need to coexist with cash. I mean, it's coming. The narrative is changing, and it's changing quickly. And so I think that would do it. But we see that the narrative is there, and the BIS is definitely talking and pushing this narrative. And then they're the bank of central banks. And so they have a series of meetings coming up next week, I believe. So it'll be interesting to tune in and see what they say about different aspects of central bank digital currencies. I hope this episode has brought you some value. Like and subscribe, and let people know that interoperability is key, and you need to establish a single multi-currency payment system. This is the Digital World Podcast, and I'll see you in the next episode.